All right, well, welcome to your mini yoga flow for hips and low back. So for this, all you're gonna need is yoga blocks and then some padding for the knee. We're gonna start with a gate pose. So let's come through tabletop. I like to have my hands on the blocks, but feel free to have your hands on the floor. Keep your left knee on the floor, extend your right leg out. Now as you extend the right leg, have some resemblance of the arch of your right foot lining up with the knee on the left leg. And all we're gonna do here is gently rock forward and back into the hips. So just finding a little mobility for the front of the hip, melting in. Take nice deep breaths. Now the next time you come back forward, pause. Go ahead and turn your right toes out so they're facing more the corner of your space and bend the knee. And now we're gonna move that right knee in little circles. So kind of have that sense of like your femur bone, your leg bone is in that hip socket, and we're just kind of massaging the hip socket to get that synovial fluid moving to create a really healthy, hydrated, fluid, mobile joint. And you can move in as big or little circles. Listen to your body and adjust accordingly so it feels really nourishing to the hip joints. Definitely not painful, but just looking for a little bit of stimulus. And then change the direction of your circle. Also a little added benefit, you get some ankle mobility, so that's always helpful too. One more here and release. Ball heel step your right foot to the right up next to your either right hand or the block that's under your right hand. And we're just gonna flow into a low lunge here. So actually I'm gonna turn to the side so it's a little bit better of an angle, but you stay exactly as you are. So drop the hip, lean forward, keep your right heel heavy. The right knee may even come past the toes if that feels okay. And now feel a gentle release for the front of the left hip. And then using your hands, push the hips back so your right leg straightens. And you can either keep the right foot down or feel free to let it flex and lift. And look for a little bit of release through the right hamstring. And then really slowly flow those two together. So dropping into the hips and then sitting back and lengthening through that leg. You can also, if you want to add in a little cat-cowing through the spine, you can round as we sit back and lengthen, and then come into that more cow-like spine as we come forward. That might feel really nice and nourishing to the low back and the thoracic region as well. Just looking really to nourish the body here. One more. And then gently release. So keep that foot forward. We're slowly going to circle it around. So again, we're going to just find a little bit of mobility. So the blocks may be a disadvantage at this point. So if you like, you may want to come a little bit lower. You're going to pick up the right leg and use your hip strength and mobility to slowly circle the leg around. Once it's all the way back, keep that bend in the knee. Draw the knee forward towards the chest. And then take it out towards the side and back around. So creating a little bit of mobility and space throughout the hip. And moving slow enough that you can really identify any areas that feel sticky or challenging. And if you find those spots, that can be really helpful because that's really a good sign that your body's telling you this might be an area we want to come back to and focus on. This is an area that needs just a little bit more love and attention. And and release. All right, let's set up for the other side. So if you set your blocks off to the side, go ahead and grab them if you like. Come back through your tabletop. Extend your left leg out to the side, again, finding some resemblance of arch to knee alignment and coming right into these forward back hip rockers. If you're in a position where the hips are chronically painful, mobility and strengthening are great to help, but stretches can be really helpful in the short term, just to reduce some pain. But once you're out of that acute state, building up strength around the hips can be really helpful out of that. We have to keep going in those painful times of our life. All right, the next time you come forward, hold. Turn your left toes so they're more towards the corner of your space, and then bend the knee and come right into these big circles. Just change the direction after you've done a couple one way. And then come through center. Again, ball heel step, slowly bringing that left foot up towards the left block. And then again, we're going to drop into the hips. Maybe the knee comes past the knees. Maybe you spine a little bit. And then back, you toe lift or stay. And then two together. Oh. I like to move a little slower between these two just because it feels really good. If you're dealing with any pain or that, move a little slower and use your arms to really support you between the transition. Also think about the mobility here you're getting for the knees and the ankles. So this is a really good one just to create a nice fluid, healthy body through the lower limbs. And the next time you come forward, let's pause. It can be helpful here to set the blocks up to the side, but please feel free to keep them if you like. We're going to really think of hugging that leg bone in socket so we can circle it back and around. So really start to feel that engagement. And then slowly pick it up and sweep it back. And that initial one hopefully will be the hardest one. And then come right into those circles. And then release. All right, for this next one, you will need at least one block. And if you don't have a block, stack some blankets. You're just gonna need something to physically lift the pelvis. So we're gonna come into an iliopsoas stretch, which is so great, especially when we sit all day at the computer, to release the front of the hips because of the compression they get from just physically sitting. So take your block or your blankets. You're using a block, it'll be on its lowest setting, and you're gonna slide it right underneath. Think tailbone, sacrum area. So it's really supporting the hips. Go ahead and slowly bring one knee in at a time, and you just want to have the sense that the block is really supporting you. From here, go ahead and interlace the hands around your right knee. Extend your left leg up towards the sky. Now let your left leg start to become really heavy as it slowly just melts down towards the floor. As it keeps going, keep hugging the right knee in more more and more until your left heel finds the earth, and then let the left leg relax as you are actively hugging the right knee in and hopefully feeling a little bit of release to the front of that left hip. And even if you don't have a whole lot of sensation, especially if you sit a lot, this is so good to counteract that. And if we sit a lot throughout the day and we have frontal hip compression, we can think too how the back would be affected. So this is also a really good one to release through the low back, because the back and the hips are so innervated with one another. So release one, the other one will feel good too. And that's another thing to look at too. If you're dealing with chronic or even acute pain, always look downstream and upstream. Sometimes we think it's one issue, but it could be a very closely related one. As you have the right knee into the chest, it might also be really nice just to circle through the ankle and the foot, creating some mobility downstream of the hips. And then keep the right knee into the chest. Bring the left knee in to meet it. And then let's switch. Take your hands over to the left knee. Extend your right leg up towards the sky. Hug your left knee in tight, tight, tight as you slowly lower the right leg all the way down until the heel finds the floor. Once the right leg is resting on the floor, hug the left knee in any more, and then you can add that optional ankle circle or point and flex, whatever feels really helpful. And then we'll slowly just finish with a little bit of decompression for the lumbar. So we're going to draw your right knee back in. The legs are already lifted. If you need to adjust the block a little bit, feel free. And you can keep your knees bent if that feels really good, or maybe even straighten the legs, imitating legs up a wall, and just feel that gentle inversion to decompress to the low back. It's also really helpful draining the lymphatics out of the legs back towards the circulatory system, gathering in waste. And the lymphatics kind of bottleneck at the knee. So if you have the legs straight, maybe you just gently massage around the knees, just kind of helping that lymphatic flow release so it's not getting too bottlenecked. Especially if you have a lot of swelling in the lower legs, lymphatic focus is really helpful with any edema issues. And take a couple of deep breaths. And if you were massaging the knee, gently let that go. And then just point and flex the feet a couple times. So what we're doing here is creating a pump to get the lymphatics flowing back towards the circulatory. The lymphatics don't have their own pump. They rely on us to physically move. And then slowly bring those movements smaller and smaller until you're back into stillness. Bend your knees generously. And you can place the feet on the floor one at a time or just flick the block out, whatever makes more sense for you to come out of that. Slowly feel your low back ground. Take a gentle windshield wipering of the legs side to side. And whenever you like, press yourself up to have a seat. And I want to thank you for joining me for your practice. I hope your hips feel yummy and nourished and refreshed. Have an amazing rest of your day. And until next time, be well.